Hello and warm welcome to our special program, Current Affairs. The United States has issued its first ever guidelines on access to social justice for disabled persons. The guidelines are aimed to make it easier for the disabled persons to access justice systems around the world. The guidelines chart has a set of 10 principles and details the steps for implementation. By the end of this current affairs session, we will get to know what are the 10 principles, what is the definition of a person with disability, and lastly, we will also get to know what are constitutional frameworks for disabled in India. So beginning with the first thing, that is, what are the 10 principles? The 10 principles include: each person with disability has legal capacity and hence no one shall be denied access to justice due to disability. The second principle: facilities and services must be universally accessible to make sure equal access to justice without discrimination of persons with disabilities. The third principle: disabled persons, together with children with disabilities, have the right to appropriate procedural accommodations. The fourth principle: they have the right to access legal notices and information in a time-bound and accessible manner on an equal basis with others. The fifth principle: persons with disabilities have the right to each substantive and procedural safeguard recognized in international law on an equal basis, and states must make available the essential accommodations to guarantee due process. The sixth principle: these persons are entitled to have free or affordable legal assistance. The seventh principle: they have the right to take part in the administration of justice on an equal basis with other persons. The eighth principle: disabled persons have the right to file complaints and initiate legal proceedings regarding human rights violations and crimes. Also, they have the right to get their complaints investigated and be afforded appropriate remedies. The ninth principle: effective and robust monitoring systems play a significant role in supporting access to justice for persons with disabilities. The 10th and the last principle: everyone working in the justice system must be made aware and trained to address the rights of disabled persons, especially in the context of access to justice. Now let's move further and know what is the definition of a person with disability. In the year 2007, the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities was adopted as the first major instrument of human rights in the 21st century. According to this convention, persons with disabilities are those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairments which in interaction with various barriers may hinder their full and effective participation in the society on an equal basis with others. So what does discrimination on the basis of disability indicate? According to the UN, discrimination on the basis of disability indicates any distinction, exclusion, or restriction based on disability which affects or may affect impairing or nullifying the recognition, enjoyment, or exercise on an equal basis of all human rights and fundamental freedoms in the political, economic, social, cultural, civil, or any other field. It comprises all forms of discrimination, including repudiation of reasonable accommodation. What does reasonable accommodation mean here? Reasonable accommodation means the alteration and adjustment in a particular case to facilitate persons with disabilities for enjoying and exercising human rights and fundamental freedoms on an equal basis. Moving further, let us know what does statistics say. As per statistics provided by the UN, in India, 2.4% of males are disabled. 2% of females from all age groups are disabled. Disabilities consist of psychological impairment, intellectual impairment, speaking, multiple impairments, hearing, seeing, among others. What are constitutional frameworks for disabled in India? According to Article 41 of the Directive Principles of State Policy, the state shall make effective provisions for securing right to work, to education, and to public assistance in case of unemployment, old age, sickness, and disablement within the limits of its economic capacity and development. The subject of relief of the disabled and unemployable is mentioned in the state list of the 7th schedule of the Constitution. For the betterment of persons with disabilities, Parliament has enacted Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. Apart from that, for the welfare of disabled persons, government has also taken many steps such as Accessible India campaign, Deen Dayal Disable Rehabilitation Scheme, and assistance to disabled persons for purchase or fitting of aids and appliances. Schemes like National Fellowship for Students with Disabilities and schemes of the National Trust for the Welfare of Persons with Autism, Cerebral Palsy, Mental Retardation, and Multiple Disabilities are also being implemented.